Hi there, this is Mr. Selle. We're going to talk a little bit today about the piece Air Varie, which is the Junior Western Region Orchestra solo piece for this year's audition. The piece begins marked moderato and piano. So moderato is a kind of a steady tempo around 90 or 100 is where we'll start, and we want to make sure that we're piano. I'm playing the viola part, although the violin part is very similar as well. It goes into a different register in just a few places. But I actually think the viola part's a little bit more difficult. So we'll start at the beginning, again marked moderato, piano. There's a hairpin dynamic marking, crescendo, diminuendo, that looks like this in the third and fourth bar, and you really want to make sure that you can express that while you're playing. So we use more bow and more weight in that section. This part is marked dolce, which simply means sweetly, so we want to use a nice smooth bow and a lot of vibrato. Same thing with a little more of crescendo. This next section from 9 through 17 is nothing but a G major arpeggio. So if you practice your scales, that'll make this a lot easier. So this section is just a little bit tricky because of the shifts that the violas have to do. One thing about shifting, you can develop your own fingering with whatever's comfortable for you. But what I'm trying to do is shift in the open strings and places where I can hide the shift so that I'm not sliding. If you'll hear, again, this section, I shifted in the open D in bar 13 rather than replacing. And you'll hear if I try that, it may sound a little less clean. Okay, so we want to think about that when we're shifting. Also in the next bar, you want to hide these shifts so that you don't sound slidey. Okay, I'll play through this one more time and you can notice where I'm shifting. Okay, also utilizing the fourth finger. Bar 17 has an accent on beat 3, and we want to just speed up the bow a little bit with that and use vibrato. Think of it as a left-hand accent. Now we're at 21. You want to watch out for the high 2, low 2, and make it sound clean and not slidey. But the trick here is that we have a diminuendo through an up bow. So we really have to lighten up when we go to the frog here at 21. Is suddenly forte. It's marked largamente. So my interpretation of that is that we'll slow down just a hair, and we're going to use a very long, broad bow on these 16th notes because there are legato marks marked on them. The only way to really clean this is to, again, use a metronome. And the metronome is just going to keep you steady and accurate. You can start slow and be clean, and then slowly speed that up when you're ready. So we'll play 25 with just a little broader of a tempo. And then when we get to the chords at 29, this is just a moment to relax after the fast 16th notes. You want to use a whole bow, nice and smooth, and really just stretch the arm out and think that you're through the hard part. The chords need to be very long and very smooth. Don't attack the beginning of the note, but place the bow before you pull it. the last two chords, especially with viola, this is really difficult because the exact same notes are written in the viola part that they are on the violin. On the violin, you can simply play open, open 1 and 1 and 2. But since we have the same notes in the viola part, we have to shift. So it makes it really difficult for the violas. What you want to do is use third position, 2, 2, and 3 for the second to last chord, and then 2, 3, 4. And a good way to practice that is to separate the notes. Do the bottom 2 only, and then the top 2 only. So if I were to practice this, I would go, make those notes nice and in tune. And so we're cleaning the bottom 2 notes first. And that's our foundation. And then we can do the top 2. If that's too tricky for you, you can separate it even further and just do one note at a time. The bottom 2 notes. Okay? Or second finger, second finger. Then the middle notes. From A to B is a whole step, and then the top notes from F sharp to G is a half step. Okay? And then once you've figured out where the notes go, you want to maybe play the bottom 2 first, and then the top 2 as a roll. Or if you're not comfortable with that, you can play the bottom 2 and then just release and play only the top note. That would be okay as well. Really take your time here. Lift the bow. Make sure your fingers are set before you play the chord. A lot of students would try to rush through this, and it just sounds a little sloppy. So again, to play the chords at the end, we're nice and smooth and full, and really clean on the last 2 because you want to end on a good note. Okay, so here's a playthrough of what we just talked about, kind of putting the big picture together. We're going to think about all those details that we just discussed in the entire piece. All right.
Thank you.